Welcome back to the Hawkeye Garage. I'm Joe. We've got the GX470 back in the garage this week. We are going to replace and upgrade this worn out and quite frankly blown out factory Mark Leveson subwoofer that we have, and we are going to replace it with a fan favorite, the Scar Audio 6.5-inch sub. So stay tuned. So this is a pretty common upgrade for these Leveson issued upgraded audio package, whatever you want to call it. 470's the nav. It has a factory amplifier. The speakers all kind of have some weird ohm ratings going on. Makes it a little bit more difficult to replace some of the speakers. But if you do any Googling out there, go to any forum, any Facebook page for the 470s, this Scar Audio 6.5-inch sub is pretty much the go-to replacement. This thing is quite heavy, actually. It's fairly popular because it's not that expensive and it meets the ohm requirements for this system. It's almost a direct replacement. We are going to have to do a little bit of cutting, a little bit of drilling, but it's pretty much the cheapest, easiest option when replacing the subwoofer. And supposedly it sounds way better than the factory one. I noticed a couple weeks ago that had a little bit less bass than I had been used to hearing, and after crawling in the back and putting my ear right up to that subwoofer, it's crackling and popping and has barely any sound coming out of it at all. So it's time to do this. We're going to go ahead and start ripping out some of these interior panels. It is not as hard as it seems. Kind of talk our way through that as we go, and we'll get this sub installed. First thing, well, I guess it doesn't really, there's a few things you could do first, but I went ahead and took a screwdriver, popped all the caps off of these screws back here, little flathead screwdriver, and then take a Phillips and take the screws out. Then you can just pop this panel up. It's a little tough, but it's not too bad. Pry tool or a screwdriver will help. We need to get that up out of the way. We need to remove this cargo net hook thing. Basically, what we need to be able to do is undo everything holding this panel up against here. And so that's what we're doing. Just turn that, pull it out. It is a Phillips head screw in there. We need to take that out. All right, we're inside the passenger rear door here. Take your flathead screwdriver on this little step panel here. Pop these caps out, 2 10mm bolts there, undo those. If you've got kids, I would strongly suggest having a shop vac handy because, wow, apparently it's been a long, dirty winter, and I need to clean this out pretty badly. Pop this kick plate off, you need that off. It'd be easier that way. And then pull away, you don't have to completely remove, but pull away this weather stripping. It just pretty much pops off, easy as that. All right, next couple things. We've got the seat belts, the third row, the second row, one up there. They have little plastic covers over them. You can pop those off by hand. They're really easy. Take the bolt out of each one of those. It might be a little bit tough, but you can get them out. All these bolts that go back in the floor here, if you live anywhere where they get moisture, salt, rust, whatever, throw some anti-seize back on those bolts when you put them back in. Now, then we need to get these two, I've already got that one, and this one mostly, remove these strap tie-down things. Use a little flathead screwdriver, pull up the chrome latch piece, pop the plastic up, 10mm bolt in there, both of those. You do need to get those because I was trying to do it without that. As you can see, I'm to the point where I'm pulling the plastic away, but there is a foot or something that goes way underneath this carpet, and we need to kind of pull this carpet back like so to get to, and if we're going to remove this panel completely, there's 2 Phillips screws down there. Anyway, and I think that's probably just going to make our life that much easier to pull the entire panel out and start instead of just trying to peel it back and work on the sub back there. So let's get these 2 screws and pop this panel off. All right, there's a bunch of clips holding this in, so work your fingers up probably where the weather stripping is first, and start pulling across the top and just kind of work your way down. Getting it off around this seat latch over here it's tight. You might need a little pry tool or a screwdriver just to get this plastic moved away from that latching system. And then basically we can just up and out, pull this back. This is my wire going up to my battery for my auxiliary for my fridge. I'm not gonna, this is a solid wire all the way down. I don't want to cut that any more than I have to, and a chance of reducing voltage in the least. So I think I'm just going to leave that folded down like that, and then I should be able to get in there and pull that subwoofer box out, which is the next thing that we need to do. 4 10 mil bolts should come out fairly easily. My cordless impact right now, but I think it's inside and I'm not going back in to get it. All right, there's a little harness plug down here. Oh, speaking of wiring harness plugs, if your GX, which I think they all have the 110 plug-in on this side panel, you need to unplug that as well. All right, you do need to pull the bottom of this panel out as well. It's just more clips. There is one right up from here. If you peel back the side, there's a little finger clip that you need to reach back there and push up so that we can get this out. And basically, you're gonna lift it up and out. It's got a little handle on it and everything, basically. So let's put it on the bench and get that sub out of there. All right, we've got the sub box on the bench here. Torx screws need to come out, and then it is kind of glued in here a little bit. Little flathead screwdriver down around the edge, and just gently, it didn't take much at all, but there was no way I was gonna get it without the screwdriver. Pull the sub out. That's actually heftier than I thought it would be. Honestly, I'm surprised by that. So the soldered connections, we are gonna have to cut those. Oh, it doesn't actually sound crunchy. I thought for sure it would sound crunchy, and the foam is actually all in good shape. I'm shocked by that. Anyway, let's grab the other sub. You might notice first off that this factory one is kind of an odd shape around the outside. It's round and square. We are gonna have to cut the lip on this one. That is just part of getting one of these Scar subs. Also, when you go to set it in here, because it is bigger, depth wise, there is some plastic, I don't know if you guys can tell, there we go, some plastic fins in here. We are going to have to trim those out, whether you do that with a Dremel or a side cutter or an oscillating tool. You're just going to have to, it's a little trial and error until you can get it to fit down there. I think a lot of it has to go, though, from what I've seen online. All right, I've got the old sub sitting on top of the new sub, front to front. I put some screws down through the holes just to make sure it's lined up. And then I'm basically going to trace the best that I can onto this new sub around the mounting flange of the old one. And yes, we're gonna have to bust out the angle grinder with the cutoff wheel. That is how everyone does this for these 470s. It's kind of sketch, I realize, but that's just how it is. We're going to use some masking tape and some paper, and we are going to basically tape up and cover all of the subwoofer that we can with paper and tape, especially the magnet down into the cone here. Cover all of that the best we can. We don't want to get any pieces of metal down there. That's just how it is. And then I think also this new one has like a rubber seal, rubber lip on the front of it. I'm going to trace around that with my razor knife. I don't know, just to give me a little bit closer line. so I can kind of see exactly where I need to go to when I'm cutting. I'm sure it's going to take a couple times. Probably have to hit it with the flap wheel when I'm done. All right, I've got it all taped up. Actually, all of this underneath is taped, and then paper and tape across the top of it. Yeah, I just really don't want to get any metal shavings in there. I went ahead and taped the front of it. I've seen several people cutting these and not tape the front, but I don't know. I don't want any hot bits of metal getting anywhere on these and melting it. And so I've got my cutoff wheel on my angle grinder. Wish me luck. I'll see you on the other side. All right, I've got it cut. Actually, turns out that the casing on this was aluminum. So the magnet obviously is not going to pull those bits, but you don't want any of that debris in there. If I can recommend some gloves and eye protection, I would, especially if you're leaving this rubber on. Not only are you going to have pieces of hot metal going around, you're going to have some pieces of molten hot rubber splattering around too. I just cut, I'd cut it here and then move over here and cut and kind of go around, and then gave it a break halfway through just to kind of keep the heat down. I don't want it to get into that cone where it's all glued. And then I just sanded it smooth, and actually was pretty simple as far as getting it to fit into the box. All right, I've got the box all cleaned up. You can kind of see in there, the light is kind of hard. But basically you need to take all those fins down to the bottom, all the way around the circle. Yep, that's pretty much what you need to do. I used a combination of Dremel and knife, side cutters, sandpaper, but the circumference of that circle all the way down to the bottom, make sure you blow it out really good, wipe it down, vacuum it out. You don't want any of that particulate and dust and stuff in there. So, all right, wiring up is pretty easy. This is a dual voice coil speaker, so it has 2 positive and negative hookups. Basically what you're gonna need to do is take one wire, a jumper wire, and connect the positive on one coil to the negative on the other, which I've got done here. I zip tied the wire there. And then on either of the coils, either of the connections, you've got your red and your black wires coming out of the speaker box, red for positive, black for negative, and you're just gonna hook them up like so. Now we can put it back in the box, screw it together, we'll throw it in the car and plug it in and give it a test run before we button everything up. All right, there it is, back installed. Definitely sounds better. It's not any louder, it doesn't hit any harder. I don't know, maybe my amp is getting weak. I feel like amps don't get weak, they just go bad. It's been a while since I've had like aftermarket amplified audio system in a vehicle. But I don't know, maybe I need to do some research. Maybe even a small aftermarket amp hooked up to that will probably be stronger than the amp that's in it. Maybe do some research on that. I feel like that sub, even though it's small, is plenty strong enough. It takes, what, 200 watt, I think it said. I should be able to throw some more power at that. I don't know, we'll see. Some research to do, maybe a future project. Future video. So it's time to screw all this back together and finish up. Well, that wraps it up. Of course, put everything back in the way you took it out, and you should have everything buttoned up. So look for future videos. Maybe we'll do that amp upgrade. If you have recommendations, suggestions, hit me up in the comments down below. Email me, hawkeyeskunkworks@gmail.com. So if you're new to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe. Trying to drop videos every Sunday now that the weather is getting nicer. I've got several mountain bike videos coming up, building some mountain bikes. And of course, there'll be more of the GX and the 4Runner. So until the next video drops, thank you for watching. Take care. Goodbye.